Okay, so good evening, everyone. Uh, we have the topic of cyber security. So, the career opportunities or the future of cyber security that is out there. So, Devesh already has given an introduction about me. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, but later on I switched on to information security, and there are certain certifications which I've done regarding implementation of information security standards called ISO 27001. Then data privacy is also one certification, 27701 2019, and business continuity management system. Some other key competencies or the areas that I work in are IT general controls, implementation of information security frameworks, IT risk assessments, business continuity management in IT, and audits of certain information systems. So I will want to ask you a question first. What do you understand when we hear the word cybersecurity? What's your first opinion, or what's the first thought that comes to your mind? Feel free to unmute and ask questions or answer. There's no right or wrong. It's just what you feel.
I think it's just protecting people's information and making sure that like you don't get hacked. Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you mean by hack? I mean, have you seen a dictionary meaning of hack? There are a lot of things which you can hack and say that it's a positive improvement that has been made to a way in which you were initially doing things in a very mundane manner. But we often say that I hacked the exam or I hacked a particular way of doing things. So, the word hack typically in the current scenario has a negative meaning, but actually if you look at the definition, it also means that doing certain things in an innovative manner. Okay, but yeah, Adya mentioned right now that you want to protect information of individuals. Is that the only thing? What kind of information do you normally have?
Spreading awareness about security of online security and stuff.
Okay, that's a correct answer. Any more inputs? What kind of information is out there? It can be my personal information, it can be your information, it can be information which belongs to an organization. Uh, any more ideas? What is information and why is information of value?
Like companies, like accounts or something, like a private limited organization's
Okay,
accounts,
yeah,
if they were leaked to the public, it would cause the competitors to gain knowledge that
mm,
like private knowledge that they aren't supposed to know,
okay,
and change their business protocols according to this company. So it would
yeah,
basically cause a lot of like some information is just supposed to be kept private between companies
mm,
as well as individuals, like
yeah,
bank passwords
correct.
and all of that. So I think cybersecurity is important for that.
Absolutely right. I mean, you have at the moment you've come closest to what the definition is, or your concepts about what cybersecurity is pretty right. And let me just show you what it actually means. Okay, here is some jargon about cybersecurity. So we often say that a hacker, there are hackers out there. Mera account hack ho gaya. So it's not always that there are external threats. There are a lot of internal threats also. Okay, so cyber security is not just about protecting yourself from hackers, but also at the same time making sure that the systems or the networks or the data that you yourself are handling within an organization is done in a proper manner. So those are the internal threats. Me trying to exploit whatever is there within my organization to conduct a fraud or to manipulate certain data or information is also an internal threat. So whenever you say cyber security, it's not just the hackers which are outside the organization, but there can be internal threats also posed by your own people or the people within an organization. So when we look at cybersecurity, there are three main concepts to it. Okay, one is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Can anyone tell me what is confidentiality? What do you mean by confidentiality?
The importance of keeping it private.
Right. So you want your information to be with a set of people that you have authorized. Okay. A classic example, we often hear it, that there are only a handful of people in the world who know what is the formula or what's the mixture for Coca-Cola. Have you heard of this example? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the way you want to mix or way you want to prepare a certain ingredient or a mixture, that's confidential because that's that's the basis of your entire business operations. Okay. Then what do you mean by integrity of information? Why is integrity of information necessary? Anyone? What's integrity of information?
How true it is?
Absolutely right. So you give an exam and nowadays your results appear on a website, right? Would it be fun to say that some uh, uh, random person gets access to those systems and manipulates the data? You want the data to be in its truest form. You want integrity of the data so that what it represents is what it is in actuality. So you don't want the data to be manipulated. You don't want the data to be fudged. There are certain cases where you may wrongly enter a data, right? But then to change that data, I need to have the authority to do that, or I should be authorized to do that. So that's why integrity of information is important. The third concept is that of availability. What would you consider about availability of information?
Who all it's available to?
Right, and along with that it should be available when you want it to. Okay, it should not be like a website where you want to book a ticket or you want to go access certain things. Remember when many a times the exam results are released and everyone is trying to log into that website and the website doesn't open up. Okay, so your systems, your capacity of addressing the queries or providing the information should also be in line with what kind of usage it will see in the future. So your information should be confidential. It should be with only the right set of people. It should not be easily manipulated, and it should be available when you want it to. It should not. It should come with the quickest possible time. It should not show a loading icon. Here, load ho raha hai, load ho raha hai, load ho raha hai. It's still not there on the screen. Okay, and when we look at these three concepts in our personal life, we are following them knowingly or unknowingly. Okay, we sometimes share our passwords with a close friend because if you are not able to access the thing, then maybe that person would be able to. You discuss many of the things in a non-digital manner. You have different groups which are there, which you form on electronic messaging platforms. Again, you want the message to be in the right group because you don't want it to be with the with the person you don't want to send the message to. So knowingly or unknowingly, you are following these principles in your day-to-day lives, and these principles are followed in the organizations also. So you have people, processes, technology in organizations. We also have people, processes, technology, or the way you do things, or the way you operate certain things in your personal lives also. Okay, so all of these are considered when we look at cybersecurity. So typical example, your computers, your laptops, your servers, your different applications that you're using, the different softwares that you're using, the routers in your house, uh, the firewalls, the mobile phones, the websites, everything falls under the cyber domain. So if you go typically by the definition of what is cyber or what is a computer, anything which has got a programmable chip inside it is a computer. So you may, in the cyber domain, if you go by the cyber law definition, even let's say your washing machines or your microwaves can also be considered in the domain of cyber because they have a chip which is programmable inside it. And why do we need cyber security nowadays? Because you have a lot of confidential data which you want to protect because your businesses, your identity is dependent on it. You have if there is a data breach or if there is a hack, there can be a reputational damage associated with it. There are certain ways in which you have developed certain things which is your intellectual property. You want it to be protected. You have your confidential data, which is, let's say, your Aadhaar, PAN, passport, your address, your mobile phone number, your voter ID card. Everything is confidential data. It's personal information or personally identifiable information, which needs to be protected. How I do my business or the way I do things, which differentiates me from other businesses, those are my trade secrets. And if I don't take care of them or do not protect them, there is a loss of money because I think Adya earlier said your competitors may come to know about them and they will do the things in a similar manner and you may lose your market share, so that leads to a loss of money. So all of these things have to be considered when we look at cybersecurity. So any questions so far about what is cybersecurity?
No, sir.
Pretty clear. It's not just the hackers which are outside, but it is our own people in the organization also, right? I may deploy a new software or I may have some new technology, but if I don't know how to operate it, I may misconfigure it. If I misconfigure it or have improper authorization or access for it, somebody else may get entry to that system and then exploit it. Okay, so it's not that hackers are always sitting outside. The hacker can, or a disgruntled employee or somebody who wants to do any malpractice may be sitting inside the organization also. Yeah, so that's what is cybersecurity. We just move on to the next slide now, which is the latest trends or the developments in the field. Now it's a pretty huge mind map. Okay, the cyber security domains are extremely vast. For one person to say that I know everything about it in the domain of cyber security is a myth. I mean, I personally keep on reading or learning about new things every single day. Okay, so when Devesh said that yes, we are an expert in the particular field, I certainly don't consider me to be an expert because I am still learning so many new things every day. Okay, so you have, if you can see my cursor on here in the yellow, you can see that there are frameworks and standards. There are certain NIST standards like the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is a US body. There is ISO standards, there are COVID standards, there are SANS standards. These are different organizations or bodies which prepare the best practices or the baseline controls for different technologies out there. Okay. Uh, then we can see here that there is security architecture. Okay, how should your network design be? How should your cloud security be? What are the baseline configurations that are needed? How does identity and access management? So every bubble that you see on the screen is a different service or a different a domain in itself. Okay, you have cyber security, then there are small domains, and there are even further bifurcations in that. And anyone can pick a domain out of these things that you see on the screen and become an expert or go deep dive into it. Okay, so you don't have to focus on cybersecurity completely, but there are certain things which are specifically looked at. For example, here you can see DR, which is disaster recovery. There are people who work only for disaster recovery. And there are BCP, there are business continuity plans. There are, can you just give me a second, please? Yeah. So, like I was saying, that there are different domains in cybersecurity, and each bubble that you see on the screen is a separate subject in itself. So, you have SIEMs, Security Incident and Event Management softwares, which are monitoring the entire activities across the organization. Then you must have seen that in many movies that there is a room in which there are multiple screens and there are people sitting inside 24/7 trying to monitor something. So those are security operations centers. Okay, then there are vulnerability management. Now, vulnerability management is essentially about the different weaknesses or the hacking which happens, ethical hacking, or the way an external hacker would want to get into. These are all vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities, the other word is called as a weakness. Then there is incident response. What if there is a data breach, and now how do you respond to that? So there is a breach notification. There are containments which need to be done. How do you eradicate the problem? How do you investigate the problem? So those become a part of investigation and forensics. Uh, there are certain solutions out there which prevent data leakage. So if you try to send out an email, it will block you depending. It will read the contents of the email and identify whether this is confidential information being sent out of the organization or not. Okay, so there are data leak prevention solutions. So either it's a detective process or a protective process. So you want to prevent certain things which from happening, or there are certain solutions which will detect things that have happened. Okay, then there is threat intelligence. Okay, internal, external. So there are certain threats which are out there which can pose an impact to your organization. So these threat intelligence team, they are already always scanning for different sources on the internet or on the dark web in order to identify what can be harmful for the organization, or whether there are certain things which are out there which are already harming the organization. So that becomes a part of threat intelligence. Okay, so user education. Okay, user education is the basic level of awareness that needs to be given to the employees or to people or to the elderly people also, so that they are not prone to the hacking or prone to giving away the money that often happens. There's a term for that, that's called as social engineering. Okay, so social engineering is something that where I try to trick you into giving away the information, or I try to trick you into giving away uh, certain details which are confidential in nature. So then you have these vulnerability on the right. You have vulnerability scans. You have risk assessments. You have asset management. You have again social engineering. How should the IT setup of an organization be? So, looking at this, you can see that there are so many areas within cybersecurity that can become your areas of expertise in the future. You don't have to just stick to one, but you can also look at one bubble and make that your career opportunity. Okay, so let's move to the next one. We saw all of these things, the different bubbles and the mind map. Now, what kind of skills and values are required in the field of cybersecurity. First one is that of communication skills. You need to have good communication skills, spoken skills, and interpersonal skills. When we work with organizations, you have to interact with them. We have to convince them. See, not everyone knows about the subject of cybersecurity. So we should try to explain it in layman terms so that they understand what the threats are, what the vulnerabilities are, what the weaknesses are, what the risks are. I can't have very technical jargon which is thrown at them. So how you communicate, the way you communicate, being patient with the clients, being patient with people. Imagine you want to explain your grandparents how to set up a two-factor authentication on your mobile device, right? It would take some patience. So the same way, you have to be patient with your clients. You should know how to properly communicate in emails, in reports, when speaking with them. So the spoken language also counts, and how you gauge their reactions, the interpersonal skills, those are also important. Like I said, to know all the domains in cybersecurity is a myth. So obviously, you work as teams, because somebody would be an expert hacker, somebody would know the frameworks or the standards well, somebody would be good at managing incidents. So we all have to work as a team when we work in the field of cybersecurity. We have to have integrity, we have to have accountability, and we should know what to speak of and what not to speak of. Okay, so that's the discretion. I cannot discuss about my clients out in the open because that's confidential information, right? So you should not also be discussing, when you're working in this field, you should not also be discussing the kind of clients or the activities that you're doing at the clients with your family. Yeah, we are not allowed to do that. Then we need to have organizational and problem solving skills. So let's say you're working for a bank. There are hundreds of applications in the bank which need to be tested. How would you organize the testing of those applications? You will face a lot of problems in your day-to-day life. How would you solve those problems? How do you address them? How do you communicate them? That is important. So organizational and problem solving skills are essential. Risk analysis. Can you see threats or risks which nobody else can see? Maybe I'm walking on the street. That is also a risk, right? I am transferring money using certain wallets. There is risk involved in that. But how do you manage the risk? You can try to reduce the risk. You can try to avoid the risk. You can try to transfer the risk. There are different ways in which you can address a risk. Okay. How do you do that? Can you see problems which others can't see? Can you see risks which others can't see? That is the risk analysis. Understanding the security principles. We should have our fundamentals very clear. What is security? What are the different technologies used in it? We have to keep reading because things keep on changing in this field, right? So we need to have our fundamentals very clear. Negotiation skills. You have to try to convince the other person that what you are saying may be of benefit to them. Okay, you as consultants or working in the field often say कि अरे मेरे साथ hacking नहीं होगा. I won't get affected by it. The other person will get hacked. The other company will get hacked. But my company, it's safe. I have nothing of that nature, or I don't have data of that nature that I will ever get hacked. So we need to try to have the negotiation skills or the power to convince the other person or organization that yes, there are certain things which are essential for them. Okay, and the last quality that everyone needs to have is that of curiosity. You can never say that I know everything in this field. Trust me, I spend at least a couple of hours every day just to read up articles of what the latest hacks have been, what are the different standards which are coming up. When I am interacting with my clients, whether I am speaking the right terminologies or whether I am communicating the right concepts. So your curiosity is what will keep you interested in this field. There is a lot to do. There is a lot to learn. Like I showed here, there are so many things. But to know about these things, to get better at it, your curiosity and the hunger to learn is what will take you there. Okay. And job opportunities and the scope of work. So there are, based on every field that I looked here, I mean, if I go to this map, then there are ISO lead implementers, there are lead auditors, there are SIEM engineers, there are SOC engineers, then there are digital forensics analysts, there are third-party risk assessments analysts, there are penetration testers, there are vulnerability assessment testers, there are red teaming exercises. So every particular field will have a designation or a job opportunity. Now you can do it as a service, you can do it as a solution. Okay, so by solution, you will see that there are so many solutions like Quick Heal, there are solutions like a Fortinet firewall. Now these are technology, but at the same time, how to configure it, that is also important. You have the companies like Symantec, McAfee, different security solution providers, which are out there with whom you can work in any of the different profiles. You can either be a consultant, or you can be an engineer, or you can be a hacker. There are so many different profiles, but to just give you an overview, I have mentioned a few of them on the screen right now. Okay, information security analyst, security solutions architect, a chief information security officer, that is somebody on a CXO level, so they would be reporting directly to the CEO about the state of information security in the organization. Then there is IT security engineers, there are security system administrators, computer analysts, security analysts, penetration testers. These are all certain designations. It's not limited to these. There are far many more designations or job opportunities in the field. Okay, so I have given you an overview of what cybersecurity is and the opportunities in them. Now I'm open to questions.